Good morning. We're good to go. Happy New Year. I want to call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation, doing business as Empire State Development, for Thursday, January 19th, 2023. And like we always do, I'd like to go around the horn and just have everybody introduce themselves so people who are watching by phone also know who's sitting at the table. I'll start with our esteemed president, Hope.
Hope Knight, President, CEO of Empire State Development.
Hilda Rosario Escher, board member.
Benson Martin, designee for the New York State Department of Financial Services.
Felisa Hawkeyes, ESD Director of Compliance.
Ware Landau, Chief Financial Officer.
Kathleen Mize, Deputy Chief Financial Officer.
Matt Bray, Treasurer. John Evan Hornsby, President, Empire State New Market Corporation, Assistant Vice President, Portfolio Management and Project Finance.
Joe Taswell, New York City Regional Director.
Arden Sokolow, EVP of Real Estate.
Noah Raymond, Chief of Staff.
Rob Simpson, Director.
John Wong, Director.
Sherry Glee, Director.
Great, thank you. And we have our COO, Kevin Eunice, participating virtually from Albany. Great. All right. So our first meeting of 2023. I had the privilege and honor of attending Governor Kathy Hochul's inauguration, as well as her State of the State address. It was very exciting. It's so exciting to have a governor who's so committed to economic development and trying to strengthen our business community. And she proposed a bunch of new initiatives. We'll probably hear some of that from Hope in her report. And so we'll look forward to working with the governor and her team, as well as our legislative partners, to carry out our economic development opportunities and obligations during this year. So I'd like to remind staff joining us remotely today to please mute your audio until you're ready to speak. The public was given an opportunity to attend today's meeting and to provide comments on the agenda items. I'll state for the record, there is nobody here from the public at this meeting, and as of noon yesterday, we did not receive any public comments on any of the agenda items. As always, the directors received all the written materials in advance of today's meeting, and of course are free to ask any questions at any time during the presentations. I will ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any items on the agenda today.
Innovation Square, the first project, Innovation Square.
Okay, let's note that for the record, and Hilda will recuse herself and will not participate in any discussion or vote on that matter when we get to it. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from December 15th, 2022. Rob moves them. John seconds them. Any comments, revisions, additions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. And that leads us into our first item our second item on the agenda, our presentation from Hope Knight.
Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, directors. Happy New Year to you and your families. As Chairman Law just stated, we were in the Assembly Chamber for the Governor's 2023 State of the State address last week, and she unveiled a bold agenda to create a more affordable and safer New York, while opening doors and opportunities to historically marginalized communities. The Governor announced investments in housing and mental health services, new initiatives and programs to cut emissions and combat climate change, and a plan to make childcare more affordable and more accessible. As a part of her address, Governor Hochul announced an economic innovation plan to grow jobs, businesses, and opportunities across the state. I'd like to highlight a few of the pillars in that proposal. The plan includes a technology innovation matching program, which will provide matching grants to New York companies applying for federal small business funds. Recognizing the importance of the life science industry, Governor Hochul has also proposed the creation of 2 cell and gene therapy centers, one upstate and one downstate, to better position New York as a leader in this rapidly growing field. We'll also work to proactively secure supply chains through the Made in New York initiatives designed to attract industries that manufacture essential supplies to grow in New York. The governor also unveiled a new Governor's Office of Semiconductor Expansion, Management, and Integration, or called GoSemi. This office will be led by ESD and will oversee investments in the semiconductor industry and coordinating with federal and local partners. The goal is to maximize industry and community returns on our public-private partnerships. GoSemi will lead and centralize efforts on the Micron project, coordinate workforce development and community investments, lead efforts to create, attract, retain the highly skilled workforce that's needed, and attract companies in the semiconductor industry and its supply chain. All told, under the governor's plan, we'll continue to take a holistic approach to growing the economy by promoting the state's strengths to create jobs, support sustainable growth, and provide greater economic opportunities for all New Yorkers. Later this month, the governor will outline more of her priorities when she proposes the executive budget. We'll definitely keep the board updated as the budget process gets underway. Last week, I joined Governor Hochul and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to celebrate the completion of the Plug Power's new manufacturing facility in Albany County. The new $125 million facility will be used for expanding production, warehousing, and servicing for one of Plug's hydrogen fuel cell product lines. As a part of this project, the company has committed to creating 1,600 new jobs at that plant. And the project would not have been possible without the Green Excelsior Jobs tax credits from ESD. Governor Hochul called it a new chapter in the green energy revolution. The facility is 300,000 square feet and equally impressive. I was there in March for the groundbreaking, so this project has really come together very quickly.
Wow.
And it's great to see the great things that we're doing come to life. That same evening, I joined the governor in Lake Placid for the opening of the 2023 FISU World University Games. More than 1,400 collegiate athletes from 46 countries, representing over 540 universities, are competing in the winter sports activities throughout the North Country. Last month, Faith West shared a presentation with the ESD board about the state's efforts to support the games. The opening ceremony was remarkable. It was really amazing. They did a tremendous job.
Just like in Olympics?
Yes, yes, yes. Each delegation was recognized, some countries with scores of student athletes and others with just one. Haiti, for example, made its first Winter Games appearance with a student athlete qualifying in the cross-country skiing event. One of the most impressive scenes was the ovation that the crowd gave to the fellow student athletes from the Ukrainian delegation. It was really heartwarming.
Right.
It was great to see such global respect among the different nations. Ahead of the Games, New York State has invested heavily in the region, upgrading facilities and infrastructure. And it was great to see those investments generating dividends and being enjoyed by fans and athletes from around the world. The Games run through this weekend, and I'd recommend taking a trip up to the North Country to see them. As I said, things are off to a busy start here at ESD. Sticking with the sports team, I'm reminded of the words of the Olympic hockey coach, Herb Brooks. Before the Miracle on Ice game, Coach Brooks told the USA team that great moments are born from great opportunity. The new year and the governor's new plan offer great opportunities to build a green economy, to reach new and underserved populations, and to generate sustainable growth. And the team at ESD is fully prepared to create New York's next great moments. Thank
No, very good. Thanks. Any questions for Hope? All right. Well, thank you very much, Hope. Continuing our what we started a few months ago, where we get a separate presentation to educate the board on the amazing things that ESD does. We have a special presentation from Paul Tronalone. He's our VP for Planning and Policy in Western New York. And the spotlight presentation will be an overview of Buffalo and the Western New York regional projects. And as you know, we've been approving a lot of different projects and programs for various parts of Buffalo. And I knew for a downstater like me, I wanted to learn more about it. And Paul has an ambitious goal to achieve, because the last three, the I Love New York presentation, the broadband presentation, and the Winter Games presentations that we got last meeting were all terrific. And so the bar is high, Paul, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, directors. I'm just going to check you can see the screen, okay? You can see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you for this opportunity about telling you a little bit about what we're working on in Western New York and Buffalo. Whenever I give a talk like this about our efforts up here on the other side of the state, I always start with this diagram. If there's one thing I'd like to leave you all with today, is that our work in Buffalo and Western New York has involved a host of projects that were selected through a lens, as Hope just mentioned, of sustainable economic development. Now, this framework evolved over some of our first regional strategic plans several years ago, and it has really become a core of our approach in Western New York and the state as a whole. Now, you've probably seen it all involves what we call the 4 pillars, implementing enabler strategies that weave and apply across every economic sector. These involve placemaking or implementing projects that are done in a manner that engenders smart growth, such as dense, compact development patterns, innovation of entrepreneurship, whether it implies startups, modernization, or even small business startup, workforce development, or providing the training and know-how to fill needed positions, all with a particular focus on our most underserved communities and populations. Now, we apply these efforts to what we call tradable sectors or industries that are poised for growth and opportunity. In Western New York, the major ones involve tourism, advanced manufacturing, and health and life sciences, but can also include others. So we develop and invest in projects and programs here that try to meet as many of these items as possible. So let's walk through each one of these areas. And since we're a development agency, let's start and spend a little time on smart growth, or how our projects contribute to making great places in Western New York. Now, through 5 rounds of ESD's Better Buffalo Fund, we've awarded over $33 million to over 50 projects citywide that are revitalizing Buffalo's commercial district and its transit corridors. And we've touched every section of Buffalo, whether it involves historic rehab projects to repurpose former industrial buildings for new uses, to combination restoration and infill projects like the musical suites projects that the board just approved over a month ago, to major infill projects for mixed use in East Buffalo, just up the street from the Top supermarket site. Similarly, the revitalization of the Northland Corridor in East Buffalo, which includes about a 35-acre campus and 7 largely former factory buildings. We're rehabbing this into a campus for workforce training and R&D that's attracting private companies, and doing so through the creation of a new gathering place and a point of pride for that neighborhood. Placemaking is also occurring in less traditional places, like on our local waterways through the Buffalo Blue Way project. It's a $10 million project to create a network of access points for kayaks and canoes that is increasing recreation and tourism. If you go and look at the Buffalo River today in the summer, you'll see almost a backup of kayaks and canoes waiting to pass through the river. It's playing off of our investment on the Buffalo Outer Harbor and other major waterfront investments like Canal Side that's implemented through our subsidiary, the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation. Growing from the Northland campus, revitalizing East Buffalo is a key focus. Obviously, I've brought several projects to you in East Buffalo thus far over the last several months. Through a unique public and philanthropic partnership, ESD established the East Side Corridors Economic Development Fund, which delivers capital and organizational support for transformational projects in 9 target areas along 4 East Side corridors. Now, East Side really is a huge project area that involves almost a third of the city of Buffalo, so we're focusing on these target areas to see a concentration and clustering of some of these projects. ESD and local foundation funds support small business improvement programs, a first-of-its-kind historic building stabilization grant program, as well as key investments in long-term planning and near-term stabilization at iconic East Side anchors such as the Michigan Street Baptist Church, a key Underground Railroad site, and Buffalo's Central Terminal, its former New York Central Terminal building. So what makes our approach in East Buffalo different? Well, it could best be described as enhanced placemaking. It's not just a series of individual projects, but rather a concerted effort to marry what ESD does best, building and funding key infrastructure and private real estate projects, with longer-term capacity building efforts for neighborhood not-for-profit groups and neighborhood residents to help keep the momentum going. These include funding and training to help staff projects and programs, and it's led by a consortium of local philanthropic organizations known as Eastside Avenues and overseen by the University of Buffalo Regional Institute. And we're taking a hard look at the methods to address issues that have prevented businesses and residents in East Buffalo from accessing ESD assistance up to this point, such as minimum project size, the amount of required matching funds, or things like access to training and pre-development assistance for real estate projects in that neighborhood. This past June, the governor announced an effort to double down on our approach in East Buffalo through a combined $300 million partnership between ESD, philanthropy, and local government in 3 cities: Buffalo, Niagara Falls, and Rochester. In Buffalo, it's focusing on East Buffalo, and it's going to include an additional $180 million of combined investment and involve major projects and anchors for which master plans were completed over the last couple of years, like roughly $60 million at the Central Terminal, $40 million at the city's Broadway market, and $30 million to the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor. In Niagara Falls, this will involve a $40 million effort to take on things like new heritage features downtown and investing in anchors like the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center, coupled with small business programs. And an additional $80 million in combined investment is going to occur in Rochester through our Finger Lakes office, but I'm sure I'll leave that for the subject of a spotlight by Laura or Vinny as those efforts become completed. We're leveraging and coordinating these smart growth and placemaking efforts with other concurrent state programs like the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, whether that involved investments in Jamestown like the National Comedy Center and its legacy as the birthplace of Lucille Ball, or in Olean, where we recently approved funding to support the restoration of the Manufacturer Hanover's building as part of their DRI effort. In addition, as part of our Western New York efforts, ESD created what we call a Smart Growth Community Fund that provides $2 million awards to smaller communities that were not successful in securing a DRI grant to help implement projects to support placemaking, such as restoring the historic Hollywood Theater in Gowanda or a downtown Main Street in Lancaster that was removed during urban renewal efforts. In North Tonawanda, they actually leveraged their success in this program and graduated to be awarded a full DRI award this past year. We continue to invest in building the ecosystem here for startups and entrepreneurship. Obviously, ESD's signature initiative in this area was the 43 North competition, which we funded as a founding member. And after a pause during the pandemic, it is back, awarding projects to new business ventures and attracting venture capital, now totaling over 50 winning startups and over $300 million in venture capital funding. But it also involves less publicized efforts that are no less important, like the Olean Business Incubator, which helps support local and diverse entrepreneurs and creates a comprehensive network of entrepreneurial support. And we continue to try to support small business and entrepreneurship in our underserved areas like East Buffalo. In June, the directors approved a new round of our East Side Commercial District program, which now provides grants of up to $100,000 for capital improvements to small business. And this past fall, you approved a new small business working capital grant program that will be administered by our partners at the Local Initiative Support Corporation, or LISC, which will be rolled out over the next couple of weeks and provide grants of $5,000 to $50,000 to small businesses to assist in operating expenses in a target area around the site of the Top supermarket attack. Moving on to workforce efforts, since opening in 2018, our centerpiece of our training strategy in Western New York, the Northland Workforce Training Center, continues to grow its footprint, its student body and partnership, and is moving forward to close the skills gap in advanced manufacturing careers. It now has an enrollment of over 300, has a graduation rate that is 50% higher than the national average for community college, and has already placed more than 500 people in positions across the region. Located in close proximity to Northland and actually is a natural pipeline for the Workforce Training Center, we've invested in the Burgard High School Advanced Manufacturing Program, and it's being led by Alfred State College and is also investing in the future of manufacturing starting at the high school level. Beyond manufacturing, our Workforce Development Challenge has funded 12 projects in Western New York to ensure the region's workforce pipeline in fields like healthcare, technology, and renewable energy while targeting underserved populations. One of these awardees, a pilot program for Goodwill's Good Skills Career Program, was recently approved by the board for a $1.5 million in additional ESD funds to fully fit out and expand its program. And it was also the recipient in ESD's Build Back Better Regional Challenge Grant from the U.S. Economic Development Administration. Moving on to tradable sectors, starting with tourism in Niagara Falls, construction is now fully complete on our almost $50 million Parkway North project, which represents the second phase of removal of expressways along the Niagara River and Niagara Gorge Rim, totaling now 3 miles. These areas have been restored with native vegetation and a comprehensive trail system, connecting people to the waterfront and allowing for the expansion of outdoor recreation. It's also helped fuel a number of new mixed-use hotel projects downtown. Now, building upon this momentum, ESD's subsidiary in Niagara Falls has led a program of strategic acquisitions and redevelopment of key underutilized properties to further unlock their potential for economic growth. The governor was in Niagara Falls just before the holidays to announce some of these efforts to be funded with that regional revitalization partnership effort that I just mentioned, involving the number of Heritage Gateway projects downtown, as well as reaching further beyond downtown in the Niagara Falls neighborhoods to grow community assets that will surely add to the number of things to do by our visitors, like a concerted effort to revitalize the Niagara Falls City Market area. Our tourism efforts are not just in Niagara Falls, they're throughout the region, from the opening of the Chautauqua Hotel to the completion of restoration efforts at 2 of our Frank Lloyd Wright masterpieces, the Darwin D. Martin House in Buffalo and Grey Cliff on the waterfront in Derby, south of the city. And as I mentioned, the emerging efforts at the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor, all of which are growing as significant tourist drivers to the region. Moving on to advanced manufacturing, our signature project to foster these capabilities is Buffalo Manufacturing Works, the sister tenants in the Northwood Workforce Training Center. The directors last month approved $5 million in additional funding for the second phase of what's called their SHIFT program, which provides assistance to small and medium-sized manufacturers to evaluate and implement new technologies. Buffalo Manufacturing Works was also a recipient of Build Back Better funding under our application. And in addition, ESD's priority projects and Excelsior tax credit deals are helping to expand the region's important manufacturers, whether they range from Rosina Foods, which is making Buffalo famous for and known for meatball production, to Buffalo Wire Works, which doesn't just make wires anymore, but a host of manufacturing products, and new startups like Top Seeds, which has a great seeded cracker project. You can see it at Whole Foods in New York, or even major international companies like Linde, which is transitioning its Niagara Falls plant to a clean hydrogen manufacturing facility. In health and life sciences, we're growing our unique assets through funding our emerging Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus on the edge of downtown Buffalo. These include the Jacobs School of Medicine and Simulation and Innovation Center, which provides focused learning space for increased collaboration among students, faculty, and industry. Building upon ESD's early investments in the Center of Excellence in Bioinformatics and Life Sciences. And at Roswell Park Cancer Institute, we're assisting with a new world-class cell production facility that's contributing to new products and techniques in the treatment of cancer. In closing, I just want to give you a quick look at how the private sector has begun to respond to our efforts over the last several years. This map shows in the white shading areas of private investment in the vicinity of ESD projects that we've initiated thus far. So far, over the last 8 years, we're seeing that 97% of private investment in Buffalo and Niagara Falls has occurred within a mile of an ESD project or investment, suggesting that the private sector is starting to step up and capitalize on their efforts. So obviously a lot of things going on. more in the pipeline. I'll be coming back to you for some approvals, but it gives you a good overview of the direction of our economic development efforts in Western New York. With that, I'd be happy to open up to any questions.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Paul. That was terrific. It really is amazing how much is going on up in Western New York and primarily Buffalo, and the important role that ESD is playing in there. Again, for those like me who are a little Western New York challenged, you did not mention the Buffalo Bills Stadium, and in that map you showed at the very end, where is the stadium in relation to that, and is that sort of in the middle of it all, and is that going to continue to lead to capitalize on all of our investments on the east and west sides?
Well, the Buffalo Stadium is actually south of the city, just outside of the city. But as part of some of those investments, we are seeing some community investments as part of ESD's effort to build the new stadium. We're seeing a community investment strategy to go along with it.
Great. And I had one other question. I'll open it up to the other board members. Does SUNY Buffalo play a role in your efforts? And I know the various SUNY campuses are, terrific partners with ESD. I was just wondering what role they play in some of your efforts up there.
Well, in one particular department, the University at Buffalo Regional Institute, it's really tough to know where ESD staff ends and UB staff begins. They're a critical partner in everything we do. They're almost like my planning department, my planning staff that help me crunch the numbers and help me decide with our staff here on what we're going to invest in and new efforts that we're taking on. Obviously, UB as an innovation driver is a partner on several of our projects as well, including that bioinformatics hubs on the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus.
Great. Thank you for that, Paul. Other board members have questions? Hilda?
No, I don't have any questions.
No?
Just comment. I normally, believe it or not, to get out of Rochester, I go to Buffalo. And the change that is going on there, it's really important, not only for the city of Buffalo, but actually for the whole upstate. So,
That's great.
great job.
All right. Hearing no
Thanks
others,
very
Paul, you hit the bar.
Yeah, no, that was
Yeah.
excellent job, Paul.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And if any board members have any ideas for future special presentations, feel free to share them with me or Hope. And if not, we'll just let Hope and her team decide what they're going to share with us next. But these are very, I think, helpful and valuable to us.
Very much so.
So, great. So we will continue with the agenda and start with the Finger Lakes region. And on the phone, we have Laura O'Sullivan, our Regional Director of ESD's Finger Lakes region, with the project.
Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, directors. We're asking the directors to approve a $3 million capital grant for Innovation Partners Rock, LLC, from the Regional Council Capital Fund from rounds 9 and 11. The grant supports a portion of the cost for real estate acquisition and construction and renovation related to the commercial and educational components of a 30-story, 580,000 square foot mixed-use building in downtown Rochester. The ESD total project cost was nearly $12 million. The renovated building provides mixed-use residential, commercial, and academic space. It offers student residential units and commercial and academic incubator space to help create opportunities between businesses and students for mentorships and internships. This project has taken the tallest building in downtown Rochester that was left vacant and deteriorating for several years and repositioned it into a hub for innovation in downtown Rochester. The project is consistent with the Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council's plan to attract more students to the downtown district, drive private investment, and support community investment in urban redevelopment and the downtown innovation zone. Currently, 115 students reside in Innovation Square. Several commercial tenants, including an accounting firm, a consulting firm, a gaming company, and a co-work space company, are in the process of moving in. One of the project goals is to help retain local talent who have been educated in Rochester and connect them with jobs in the region to promote economic growth. Can I take any questions?
Thank you, Laura. Any questions? Okay, this is the item that Hilda is going to recuse herself on. We have no comments from the public on this item. I'll entertain a motion by John, second by Sherry. Any further questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Laura. Next up is Michael
you.
Uvoli, our Regional Director for the Capital Region.
Good morning. Good morning. I am requesting directors approve a $320,000 EDF grant to East Coast Nitrogen for a portion of the costs associated with the renovation, upgrade, and expansion of their existing Glenmont manufacturing facility in Albany County. The company also received a $980,000 Excelsior Tax Credit Award, bringing the total ESD assistance to $1.3 million. The grant funding, which is what the board is being asked to approve, entails an investment of at least $63 million and a retention of 66 full-time jobs at the project location. For the Excelsior Award, the investment track project entails $49 million or more in qualified investment and a retention of 167 full-time employees in New York State. I bring that up just to give you the full context of the overall ESD assistance. The board, of course, is just being asked for the grant portion here today. East Coast Nitrogen is a joint venture between Air Products and Chemical Inc. and Messer LLC, formerly known as Lindy LLC. Formed in March 2017, the ownership is a 50-50 partnership. This arrangement was created so the two companies could split the cost for the expansion in Glenmont and operate the plant as a joint venture going forward. East Coast Nitrogen provides industrial gases and related equipment to dozens of industries, including medical, industrial refining, chemical products, metals, electronics, manufacturing, food and beverage, and many more. The primary goal of the project was to expand the Glenmont plant by adding a second liquefier and increasing the total square footage of production space. The plant produces liquid nitrogen, liquid oxygen, and liquid argon to be distributed to a customer base throughout the Northeast. The product's upgrade and expansion significantly increase the total production capacity of the plant. Both companies operate their own customer sales, service, and distribution operations from the project location, but share the production and storage operations. The project is now complete, and the plant's new efficiencies has helped manage New York's peak electric loads by demand response and supports an economy of scale created by this project, which is the largest in the Northeast corridor. I think both companies looked at it not being able to pull this off and compete against each other. East Coast Nitrogen currently has 78 full-time permanent employees at the project location, so they've exceeded their numbers of what they needed to retain, and has invested approximately $81 million in the project, including $78 million of its own equity. Happy to take any questions.
That's impressive. Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Michael from the board? Not hearing none. We have no comments from the public. I will move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. All right. Here in person, we have Joe Tazwell, our New York City Regional Director. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, directors. This is a request for approval of a $6.5 million grant for Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts in connection with the $38.6 million construction and renovation of 21,000 square feet of public spaces in David Geffen Hall, located in Lincoln Center's campus and the home of the New York Philharmonic. These public spaces are being expanded as part of the $542.2 million construction and renovation of David Geffen Hall. As a condition of ESD funding, Lincoln Center has also agreed to hold free community-targeted events and performances in these public spaces and also implement a diversity in arts fellowship program. Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts was founded in 1956 and is a presenter of artistic programming and a national leader in arts education. It also manages the 16-acre Lincoln Center campus. In total, 661 of the organization's employees are responsible for the administration operations, programming, and security of the Lincoln Center campus. Lincoln Center applied to ESD in February 2022 for assistance in connection with the construction and renovation of these public spaces, as again, approximately 21,000 square feet, which are located in and around David Geffen Hall. On March 2022, ESD offered Lincoln Center a $6.5 million capital grant to pay for a portion of the $38.6 million cost of renovating these public spaces, which will increase accessibility as well as create new state-of-the-art experience that will accommodate diverse cultural performance and community uses that will be free to the public. Specifically, these improvements include the following: a new welcome center offering the public an entry point to the Lincoln Center campus, the doubling in size of the main lobby, which now features a 50-foot media streaming wall that will show concerts and events, a reconfigured and energized Grand Promenade that can now welcome more people for events, and a sidewalk studio which allows daily passerbys from the street to view performers engaged in educational, artistic, and community activities. As a condition of ESD's grant, Lincoln Center has planned over 30 community-targeted events and performances in these renovated public spaces in the project's first year. Also, 125 performances will be simulcasted on the 50-foot media wall in the hall's main lobby. In total, there will be at least 45 days of new public programming per year for the first 5 years. In addition, Lincoln Center will develop and implement a diversity and arts fellowship program to be facilitated by the hall that will hire, train, mentor, and develop the fellows for full-time each year for 5 years, for a total of 5 fellows. Finally, the project will retain 177 existing jobs within David Geffen Hall, and the project has already created 185 new jobs, exceeding its new job goals by 71 jobs. The project was completed and officially opened in early October 2022. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Joe. If you said it, I missed it. Who owns the whole 15-acre campus?
Well, it's...
Is it multiple owners?
Yes.
It is?
That's Lincoln Center manages it, but there are actually 11 resident organizations that use Lincoln Center.
And so who's getting this money? This is just the David Geffen Hall?
This is Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts that manages it, and then also manages the David Geffen Hall.
Great. But it sounds like it was a successful project, completed, and they exceeded the job expectations.
Correct.
Very good. I will move it. Is there a second by Sherry? There is no public comments on this matter, so all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? The motion carries. Thank you. Also with us today, we have Simone Bethune, our ESD Senior Project Manager and Coordinator of Projects for Loans and Grants, with a couple of items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to everyone.
As
a reminder, I'm presenting the At the Direction of calendar.
Yes.
And these grants are commitments listed in the New York State budget that enhance state communities through cultural, educational, research, and development and civic organizations. These projects originate from the governor or the New York State Assembly or Senate, and ESD is named to administer the funding but does not select the recipients of funding. Today we are seeking director's approval of a $1 million appropriation made to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Schenectady, an affiliate member of the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, or BGCA, a not-for-profit organization focused on youth development through service and education. This award was made available in fiscal year 2018-2019 from the Capital Assistance Program for Technology, Infrastructure, and Economic Development at the direction of Senator James Tedisco of the 49th District of the New York State Senate to promote youth development and community revitalization efforts in the Capital District region. With this funding, the BGCA was able to construct a 39,450 square foot new Boys and Girls Club in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood of Schenectady, New York, to serve the community youth and further promote the community revitalization efforts. The facility was able to maintain operations throughout the COVID-19 pandemic to continuously serve underprivileged children. Construction of the facility began in 2018 and was completed in August 2019 at a cost of approximately $11.3 million. For the second item, the directors are being requested to modify a previously approved $45 million commitment to the Adirondack North Country Sports Council to authorize an additional $2 million appropriation in funding from the World University Games Project Fund to the 2023 Winter University Games in Lake Placid, which we mentioned earlier in the meeting. The award is funding the development of a 5-year implementation plan to secure the 2023 Winter University Games. And there was an initial award of $5 million authorized in January 16, 2020, and approved by ESD's board. Following this, an additional $5 million was authorized in 2021-2022 and approved in January 2020. And in 2022-2023, a $35 million appropriation was made available to the project to be applied to operational functions and capital costs associated with the lease and fit out of a suitable facility to act as the main operations center for over 100 staff members. We are now returning to the board for approval of $2 million appropriation, which will bring the total amount awarded to $47 million. This grant will also be made from the World University Games Project Fund and will continue to cover capital and working capital expenses. And the project is still estimated to be complete in September 2023. And I can take any questions.
Any questions for Simone? Again, these are at the direction of projects, so ESD is more of a facilitator of these funds. I will move them. Hilda seconds them. There's no comments from the public. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? The motion carries. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you.
Next up, here with us today, we have Jonathan Hornsby. He's our Assistant VP for Portfolio Management and Project Finance and President of Empire State New Market Corporation. That's some title.
That's definitely a lot. Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, directors. This is a request to make findings and determinations to prioritize and approve a suballocation of federal New Markets tax credits to the GLOW YMCA Healthy Living Campus project in Batavia, New York, adopt and ratify Empire State New Market Corporation's board findings and general project plan, make a determination of no significant effect on the environment, and take related actions. The New Markets Tax Credit Program was created to help encourage private investment in low-income communities by offering federal tax credits in exchange for equity investments into financial intermediaries known as Community Development Entities, or CDEs. CDEs then use the proceeds of those equity investments to make low-interest loans to borrowers located in low-income communities or serving low-income populations. Empire State New Market Corporation, a certified community development entity, is the ESD subsidiary responsible for managing the state's New Markets tax credit effort. The NMTC program is administered by the Department of Treasury's Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, which provides allocations of New Markets tax credits through a highly competitive application process. ESNMC has received 3 allocations of federal New Markets tax credits from the CDFI fund to date, totaling $130 million. Its most recent $45 million award was received in October 2022 for the 2021 allocation round. Quick deployment during the first quarter of 2023 is essential for demonstrating to the CDFI fund that ESNMC can deploy and manage an award efficiently. Although the ESNMC Board of Directors approves projects for NMTC purposes, the New York State Urban Development Corporation Act requires the ESD Board of Directors to separately determine that any such projects would otherwise be approved by ESD and demonstrate one or more goals, which are detailed in the materials. On December 20th, 2022, ESNMC approved a suballocation of up to $9 million of federal New Markets tax credits to make qualified low-income community investments to GLOW Young Men's Christian Association, Inc. for the construction of the Healthy Living Campus in Batavia, a collaboration between the YMCA and United Memorial Medical Center. The investments will help finance the costs of construction of the new facility, pay for transaction costs and other related expenditures to increase GLOW's healthcare services in Batavia. In addition to approving the suballocation of NMTCs for the project, the ESNMC Board approved operative documents and all other related steps to consummate the transaction. ESNMC's Project Review Committee and the ESNMC Advisory Board have also recommended this project for investment. The 78.5 thousand square foot Healthy Living Campus will be a newly constructed facility consisting of approximately 58.5 thousand square feet for the YMCA and 20,000 square feet for the United Memorial Medical Center's primary care facility. The project is expected to create 30 permanent full-time equivalent jobs, retain 12 full-time equivalent jobs, and create 72 construction jobs. The total cost of the project is $27.5 million, and the project is expected to be completed in the spring of 2024. Complete project and financing information can be found in the board materials. New York State legislation requires ESD to select and prioritize projects demonstrating certain goals. Based on the anticipated community impacts, the project has been selected as meeting the following goals: creating or retaining jobs in low-income communities, increasing the provision of goods and services for low-income community residents, which would otherwise not be available at the same price or quality, and supporting minority and women-owned or controlled businesses. In addition to setting the goals, legislation requires that projects be limited to projects that would be authorized under the UDC Act and shall be subject to approval by the Board of the Urban Development Corporation. By adopting the ESNMC General Project Plan, finding the project achieve one or more of the goals, and making all other required findings, including conducting a hearing and environmental review, this project would be authorized by the UDC Act. GLOW has received a Downtown Revitalization Initiative grant award totaling $4,075,000 for the project. In addition, the project has received a $500,000 Restore New York grant. The directors are requested to make findings and determinations to prioritize and approve the project, adopt and ratify ESNMC's board findings and general project plan, make a determination of no significant effect on the environment, and take related actions. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions. And our NMTC consultants from Rise Community Capital, Steve Coonan and Jenny O'Connor, are also on the line.
Great. John Evan, thank you. A very thorough report. Just for, again, my benefit, these are federal tax credits administered through ESD?
Correct.
So sort of like the affordable housing tax credits the federal government issues, that gets through HCR, and we, ESD, we issue other tax credits on behalf of the federal government.
Similar, yes.
Good. Very good. Any board members have any other questions for John Evan? We don't have any comments from the public. I will move it. Rob seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, John Evan.
Thank you.
Okay. And as I said, we had a modest agenda today. Last item on the agenda is all of our administrative actions. And we have Doug Janice, our senior counsel, on the phone. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, directors. As a reminder, in order to help streamline the board meetings, we previously implemented an oral summary presentation process in connection with the administrative action section of the agenda. So you receive a full set of the written descriptive materials for each of these items in your materials, as you did for this meeting. But rather than having individual oral presentations on each, I'm going to provide you a brief summary on the items, and at the conclusion of the summary, staff can entertain any questions or comments that the directors have. We have a total of 7 items today, I believe, or 8 items today. The first of which is relative to the New York State Electric Generation Facility Cessation Mitigation Program. So basically, these are payments that offset reductions in property tax revenue to local government entities due to the closure of an electric generating facility in their jurisdiction. Both of the payments today are relative to the closure of the Dunkirk electric generation facility in January of 2016. So the first is to Chautauqua County in the amount of $435,732. The second is to the city of Dunkirk in the amount of $753,071. And the approval of these 2 payments will bring the total disbursements from the fund to approximately $58 million of the $140 million authorized for the program. Our next item is approval of a land bank application for Franklin County. So the directors are being asked to approve a land bank application submitted by Franklin County. A land bank is a not-for-profit corporation created by local governments to assist with the problem of vacant, abandoned, and tax delinquent properties. Per the law creating the land bank program, ESD approval is required before a land bank can be formed. Staff has reviewed the application submitted by Franklin County and believe that a strong case has been made that the land bank will be successful in that community. Our third item, item C, is for the procurement of consultant services to conduct a personal net worth study and workforce disparity study. Division seeks authorization to enter into a contract amendment with Mason Tillman Associates Limited to provide the division with criteria, methodology, and recommendations for determining if the personal net worth cap should be increased on an industry-by-industry basis, specifying which industries should be increased and by how much, as well as providing criteria, methodology, and recommendations for determining regional aspirational workforce diversity goals on state construction contracts. Contract extension until March 31st of 2023, and an increase of the contract value and an amount not to exceed $40,000 is required so that Mason Tillman may complete its data set analysis, prepare a draft report on the workforce disparity findings, and final reports incorporating ESD's comments to the draft report. The source of funding for the contract will be through revenue earned from the 2022 forum event.
Hey, Doug.
Our next two
Doug, before you go to the next item, just on that, item C, are we directed to do this type of study, by the legislature or the governor, or is this an internal compliance issue that ESD needs to do to implement the program?
Mr. Chairman, Jamila Green is on the line. I'm going to turn this over to her and let her respond to that question.
Thank you.
We're required.
Excuse me, Kevin. Jamila is unfortunately unavailable this morning, I believe. So if you...
Hi, Ashley. Hi, Ashley
great.
Larison.
Thanks.
Hi.
Thanks, David.
So in July 2019, New York State signed into law the reauthorization of Article 15A, which increased the personal net worth for certification from $3 million to $15 million, and gave the division the authority to add additional personal net worth requirements on industry-by-industry basis if needed. Also, the reauthorization added a workforce diversity program if required to set aspirational goals. So the division wanted to take a further look at personal net worth and determine if it should vary by industry, and wanted to take a further look into the goals for workforce of the employment of minority and women employees in state construction projects.
Okay, so the Division of Budget wants us to do this.
Legislation.
No,
Legislation.
there was some legislation.
Oh, there was in that law that she referred to in
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
Permits but does not require.
Right, it was suggested.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think it's a worthwhile study. I'm just wondering if we did it on our own or if somebody was directing us to do it. Thanks for that clarification. Doug, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Items D and E are both relative to authorization to enter into contracts for legal services in connection with the State Small Business Credit Initiative, Venture, and Accelerator programs. Those directors are being asked to approve authorization for ESD to enter into 2 contracts for legal services that will support Venture and Accelerator programs under the State Small Business Credit Initiative. Based on the anticipated volume of transactions and the wide array and complexity of legal issues that are likely to arise, ESD needs to enlist the services of outside counsel in order to ensure that these programs are launched and supported in an appropriately robust and thorough manner. So the 2 related items, 5D is pertaining to a contract for legal services with Nixon Peabody LLP, and item 5E is pertaining to a contract with Ryder, Kalis, and Rosenblatt LLP. The next 2 items F and G, are relative to contract amendments for legal services related to the Brooklyn Development Center mixed-use project. And they're both authorizations to increase contract amounts in terms of the existing contracts for 2 law firms that are already working on the project. so the contract amounts and terms have to be increased to cover the additional and necessary work associated with the development of this large affordable housing project in multiple phases over a 10-year period. The first contract is with the law firm of Schumann, Updike, Kaufman, and Gerber, LLP, for real estate legal services. And the second contract is with the law firm of Scythe, Paget, and Reisel, PC, for environmental legal services. Both contracts are due to expire on February 28, 2023, and staff is requesting a 2-year extension through February 28, 2025, with authorization for ESD's general counsel to extend the term for 2 additional years, if necessary, to February 28, 2027. Both contracts are currently for $500,000, and the request is to increase each of those amounts by an additional $250,000, so that the new contract limits will be $750,000. And all funding for these contracts has been and will continue to be fully funded through an Imprest account by the project's developer, Vital BDC LLC. Item H is relative to a contract for marketing and promotion services of the New York State dairy industry through Cornell University. We are requesting director's approval for a $650,000 market order contract with Cornell University to support their partner program, New York Agriculture in the Classroom. They will be marketing and promoting the New York State dairy industry with the goal of increasing the consumption of milk and dairy products by youth. This objective will be achieved by increasing the amount of classroom instruction focused on the dairy industry. I will now turn the meeting back over to our chair, who will call for any questions or comments you may have on any of these items before calling for a vote. We also have item-related staff on the line today as well to take any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Hey, Doug, I think I told you, I've chaired the Long Island Housing Partnership for the last 13 or 14 years. We created the land bank about 4 years ago. Did ESD have to approve that too, or does ESD only approve municipal land banks?
No, I think they have to approve all of them according to the legislation.
Hey, Kevin, this is Steve Golick. What was that? Which one were you talking about?
The Long Island Housing Partnership land bank. We created it several years ago. I'm just curious if ESD had to approve that.
Yeah. No, that would not have been, because it must have been under a different statute. If it was the one formed by either NASA or Suffolk County under Section 16 of not-for-profit law, we did. The one you mentioned doesn't sound familiar, actually. There was one in Nassau and there was one in Suffolk for Long Island.
Yeah, I think both counties created one, but yeah, we created it just as a not-for-profit to help. Actually, we acquired Sandy properties with it, and then used them to create affordable homes. I was just curious if ESD had to approve that. I don't have any other questions. Do any board members have any questions on any of these items? We have not received any comments from the public, so we're allowed to do this in one big omnibus vote. So I will move it, and John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Is there any other business that any board member would like to raise at this time? No. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 16th, here in New York City, pending any blizzards or other things. But it's been a light snow season so far, which I probably just jinxed.
From Buffalo.
Yeah, not in Buffalo, that's for sure. That's for sure.
That's right.
Downstate for sure. So that concludes our meeting. Thank you all for coming. Thanks, staff, for the great job that you did in presenting all the items, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.